Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, your home for the very best fantasy basketball tools and articles on the entire internet. You have to go check them out as soon as humanly possible. I wouldn't say stop what you're doing right now and go check out #basketball.com because you could be doing something very important like driving or feeding a child. But the next time you have some spare time and you want to look at fantasy basketball stuff, go to #basketball.com and keep your kids safe while doing it. I'm your host, Mike Catron. Joining me as always is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Did you just say someone was driving while feeding their child?
Listen, in today's hectic world, you got to multitask, and even as a parent, you got to figure out how to get by in this crazy world. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but I feel like driving while feeding your child is not the way to.
No, it's a bad idea.
It's not the way to attack it.
But if you are driving and feeding your child, you shouldn't be going to #basketball.com.
If you're driving and feeding your child, you should reevaluate your life.
Agreed, but also, don't get on your phone and try to look up fantasy basketball stuff on #basketball.com, the home of the very best fantasy basketball tools and articles on the internet.
True.
It's just good advice. Tyler, what's going on, man? Like, what's new?
Not a lot good, unfortunately.
That's terrible. That's terrible news. It's been very cold. It's going to be snowy here in dreary Chicago. The winter has finally set in, but that means we are in the heart of basketball season, and we're already on week 14, which is pretty crazy.
We're less than a week away from the most depressing day of the year, says Google.
What is the most depressing day of the year?
January 21st is apparently going to be the most depressing day of the year. Google told me the other day on my phone.
Why?
It was like a headline, and it was like, why January 21st is going to be the most depressing day of the year.
That's horrible. That's Martin Luther King Day. What kind of weird shit is going on at Google where they would say something like that?
I think it had something to do with like for some reason it got predicted to be like one of the longest days of the year as far as like darkness, and it was like supposed to be very bad weather like in most of the country.
Great. So it's just like it's dreary, it's cold, it's icy. Also, like the sun sets at like 4:45.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe Google failed me, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be good for the next week or so. So buckle up, children.
You know, I'm thinking about. I've been considering running for office, Tyler, and I'm considering running on the platform of that we will never fall back. We will always stay on daylight savings time. And I think I'll get elected.
Dude, I mean, that sounds genius to me.
Like, okay, listen. It's dark when you wake up. Darn. Oh, well. But what's more depressing? Dark when you wake up and then go to work, or dark when you leave work? That is way more depressing. You have no day left. You're going home. The sun sets by the time you get home. And then you're depressed. You're like, it's nighttime already.
Dude, when I get done with a long day of work and it's dark, I just want to go to bed too. I'm just like,
exactly.
Man, I should just curl up in bed and just go to sleep and try this again tomorrow.
It is killing productivity and the economy by falling back. Vote for Mike Catron for mayor or governor or president. Who knows? It's a wide open field out there. I might just run. I might need to start getting those signatures now for my run for office.
I mean, I'll write you in as long as you're somehow on my ballot from many miles away.
Yeah. I mean, I got other policies as well I want to enact. One of which is to revert back to the proper holidays. So like all the holidays are on Mondays now, except for like the obvious ones, Christmas, New Year's, and July 4th. Let's go back to when they originally were. And if that holiday is on a Tuesday, you get Monday and Tuesday off. If that holiday is on a Thursday, you get Thursday and Friday off. And if that holiday is on a Wednesday, you get Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off. You get a 5-day weekend. Everybody enjoy yourself. for America's birthday or whatever holiday happens to be. There's no way that I wouldn't get elected by promising more daylight and more days off of work.
I mean, yeah, but there'd be less productive people out there, so that could be an issue.
I don't care about that. I think people would. That's a problem for the corporations, not for me. When I'm president.
All right, fair enough.
Don't give a shit about that at all. Tyler, let's just get into it. We've been lollygagging enough here, and we're gonna do what we usually do this time of the week, and we're gonna be looking at all the buy lows out there. Tyler, you've put together a very good list here, and I want to start out with someone who's been basically just who's been really, really good this year, but injured. And that person would be one of my favorite formerly bearded players, Nico Mirotic. Nico Mirotic is on his way back to health. He did come back recently. He did start. He did play. I'm not sure if he started. I better go check that out before I just start running my mouth here. But he's played in the last few games. He's only playing limited minutes, and he had been out since early December. So he's been out for almost a month. And I think a lot of people who are anxious to get Nico back, who is having a career year, by the way. I think people who are anxious to get him back are probably pretty disappointed in his first 3 games with limited minutes. Tyler, why is he on your buy low list?
Mike, now, is this a question to even ask? The injury hurt him. The production hasn't been good since he's come back. And not only that, but like you mentioned, he's playing limited minutes. Minutes restriction is probably going to go away within the next week. So that's a positive. And I always think it's just an underrated fantasy asset at pretty much every year. We talk about this, right? He's going to hit a lot of threes. He's going to score you like 15, 16 points. He's going to get you some rebounds. He's going to get steals. He's going to get blocks. He's going to be really good. I think Mirotic is a guy you're going to want to get for your stretch run. And, I mean, now's your chance to probably buy him pretty low. And I think you might be able to get him for somebody probably outside the top 75. And I think Mirotic is probably easily a top 75 player the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a question that Mirotic will be a top 75 player for the rest of the season. He has already been basically in the top 40 for most of the year. So, and that's in 29 minutes per game. He's going to get right back in the swing of things. It might take him a couple weeks. It might take him, hopefully not, but it might take him till closer to the All-Star break. But if you're in a position where you're going to make the playoffs, you're going to need someone down or someone for the last stretch of the season in a roto league. Nico Mirotic buying low on him is a really good idea.
I am with you 100%.
All right, next up on this list is I think a guy who's kind of underwhelmed me this year. I thought he would have a better year. I think I was a little bit higher on this guy going into the season than a handful of people, and I've been sadly disappointed. And that person is Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray has just really had a super mediocre season. Definitely not what we thought would come about based on his improvement last season. And it's actually kind of surprising because other than his field goal percentage being a little bit lower this season and his free throw percentage being a bit lower as well, he has pretty much performed the same or even a tad better when it comes to rebounds and assists than he did last year. So were we kind of fooled by his, like, he was on the upper end of that plateau last year and now he's on the lower end of that plateau? Or do you think he's got a strong second half in him?
So I think a lot of it has to do with Gary Harris has been out, and I think that's hurting his field goal percentage, right? Like he's just not getting the same quality shots, and he's going to have to take a little bit more contested shots. And it's also something worth mentioning that he wasn't a good shooter during his rookie year, so maybe he's just not that good of a shooter. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but there's that potential. But here's the thing I think that's really going to kick up with Jamal Murray. Gary Harris is out again. Gary Harris is out indefinitely.
That's
I don't
true.
think it would be that surprising to see Murray average like pretty close to 20 points with 5 assists. Well, Gary Harris is out. The steals even ticked up a little bit the last time Gary Harris was out, so maybe you get some boost in those categories. He probably definitely gets more shot. Yeah, that's some bad English right there, isn't
Probably
it?
definitely.
He definitely gets some more shot attempts when Gary Harris isn't playing. So you got to like that for fantasy. And I just think that Jamal Murray could be a sneaky, better than he's been guy, at least while Gary Harris is out. Now, the worry here about buying low is he was kind of overdrafted. So buying low on a guy who was overdrafted is always a little bit difficult because obviously the perception of some people is higher than the actual value. But you mentioned it that a lot of people are disappointed, like, oh, he's not doing what I thought he would. He's not taking that huge leap I thought he would take. So maybe they're a little bit disappointed, and you can trade, for Jamal Murray and get kind of a steal.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head with Gary Harris basically being out indefinitely, that Jamal Murray is going to take a little bit more of the offense here, and hopefully that new place in the rotation. And obviously he's been playing, like he has been averaging 34 minutes a game, so it's not about playing time, but perhaps his usage will go up, his the play calls for him will go up, and him basically being the primary ball handler will be up as well. All of that will give him the confidence to have a strong second half. I think it's kind of you're not losing anything by trying to get Gary Harris for a guy who's a borderline top 100 player. Because at worst, excuse me, not Gary Harris, Jamal Murray. Because at worst, Jamal Murray is going to be a 100 ranked player, and at best, he's going to bust back up into that 60-50 range like he was last year. So you're buying him at probably his lowest value, and that's always a good move.
So I'll share something that you might find a bit crazy.
Oh, I'm very interested.
So Jamal Murray, so far this season, where do you think he's fallen in Basketball Monsters 8 category rankings?
Ooh,
This
Jamal Murray, 8
this
categories.
This is per game. So guys like Lauri Markkanen, only playing 20 games, don't get hurt by that.
Per game. Okay. So I know, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, knowing where he's kind of ranked now, going with the fact that he's good at, like, his turnovers don't really give him a plus or a minus, I feel. So I'm going to say he's like the 85th ranked player.
68th. If you flip that to total value, which he's been very, very healthy this season.
That's true.
You want to take a stab at where that falls?
Totals. Okay. He's played most of if not all the games. So if he was, 68, then I would guess he's closer to, I'd say 60, just 60.
Well, that's a good guess and a fair guess. Okay, I messed this up. I gotta fix it. Hold on.
Tyler, were you giving people false information?
No. I clicked the wrong one over to totals, so nothing changed. And I was like, wait, how is he still that? He is 52nd.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I am willing to bet he is a top 50 player for the rest of the season.
In totals.
I mean, maybe not necessarily in totals. I don't ever like to say in totals because if he gets hurt tomorrow and misses 10 games, then it's over. I think in kind of in value, per game value, I guess I'll say, not really per game value though. Because I mean, the thing can get a little bit wonky this time of year with, like, when you look at the per game numbers from here on out, there's some guys who get like 10-day contracts, play like 5 games and have 5 really good games, and then like end up being a top 50 player. And that can just, like, you got to throw those out if you're looking at the rankings at the end of the season. Like, what was that? Andre Ingram, was that the guy's name, who was like 32 years old and he played 1 game at the end of last season? And
yeah.
Be a top
that was inspirational story, Tyler.
He ended up being a top 50 player if you looked at per game value. So you got to, like, know what you're looking at. But I think Jamal Murray's top 50 player the rest of the season.
That is a bold prediction. I expect people and our listeners on Twitter to hold Tyler accountable for that. At Tyler P. Watts, feel free to trade him when he is wrong. that Jamal Murray's a top 50 player going down the stretch seems maybe a little too high, but not unreasonable, which is why I think if you can get Jamal Murray for basically nothing, you are going to not regret that trade. Let's talk about another guy on the Denver Nuggets here, Will Barton. I'm surprised to see Will Barton on this list because, as far as I know, Will Barton has been 2 games away from coming back for the last 3 months. So why am I trusting Will Barton if he's even on a team at this point? Why am I picking up Will Barton? Why am I trusting Will Barton on my team?
He played tonight.
What? He played tonight? No, I didn't even know. That's how out I am on Will Barton. I assume
he's actually played 3 games now.
He's been playing all week. No one told me. No one even gave me a heads up. What the hell, everybody? Where you guys been?
Here's the thing that was very encouraging about that was they played a Saturday, Sunday back to back, and he played in both games. So you don't normally see that from a guy just coming back from. Well, he basically missed the entire season, right? He played 2 games, and then he missed ever since the middle of October. October 20th was the last game he played, and he just came back on January 12th. So you gotta like that he played the back-to-back there. This is your guy, man. This is your.
I love Willie Barton, but he's been out. He's been questionable. Not like he'll be out for a month. He's been questionable since the beginning of the damn season.
And you gotta like the fact that this team, I think Barton can easily play, 30, 32, 33 minutes when he gets back to health, and he's shown that he's very, very valuable in that kind of playing time. So. I think Will Barton, his owners are really frustrated with him. They're like, oh, he's finally back. Oh, now he's playing 20 minutes a game still. Maybe he never comes all the way back. I think you can get him probably for somebody outside the top 100, and I think he's safely a top 100 player now. Who knows what the production's going to look like? Like, will the long-term injury affect his shooting a little bit? There's potential for that. And his season's just going to be a lot smaller sample size, right? Like, he's going to play at most 45% of the year, because that's about what games are left. So his sample size will be a lot smaller. So you can get some fluky looking stats from Will Barton as far as like season long numbers.
Yeah, I think now that I know that he's playing, I that's how I've given up. I had given up on him. Sorry, I feel bad that I've been giving up on Steven Willie Barton out here, who played 23 minutes against Golden State. That's a really good sign. And I think he's going to be back to his old tricks come the All-Star break. So if you can swindle him soon, you should. Maybe you can find someone in your league who didn't realize he was back playing, like myself, and grab him for basically nothing.
What do you think was in the water on Tuesday night?
I don't know.
The Sixers scored 149 points. The Hawks scored 142. The Warriors scored 142. The Pacers scored 131. The Bucks scored 124. The Thunder scored 126.
Wow. I think people were just well rested. Maybe it's been more of an even schedule this week, like we talked about in our weekly preview.
There were literally, there's 5 games finished right now. There were 6 games on Tuesday night, and the winning team, the lowest they scored was 124, and the highest was 149 by the Sixers.
Wow.
And the Warriors broke our record for scoring 51 points in the first quarter.
In the first quarter?
They scored 51 points in the first quarter, yes.
They were on pace for 204 points. That's incredible.
Yes. It was pretty wild night in the NBA on Tuesday. So that has nothing to do with buying, guys. I just thought it was worth mentioning that something crazy happened on Tuesday.
Weird. Everybody must have taken. Maybe people are smoking less weed, took the night off, drinking less, not going out partying, no back-to-backs. I don't know. It could be anything. A lot of New Year's resolutions out there. Maybe people are keeping them.
I got to get 10 3-pointers tonight. It was my New Year's resolution.
Might have been. Seemed to have worked. Let's talk about the last 2 guys on this list. One of them is one of your favorite players to basically that we recommended to draft, and also a player who has a new coach, and that's Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague having a kind of a, for as much as we talked him up, not that great of a year for Jeff Teague. And he's been sharing minutes with Derrick Rose, who's having a nice comeback. Also been sharing minutes with Tyus Jones. And why do you see Jeff Teague's value rising over the next second half of the season?
Well, just when most people are kind of jumping off ship, because he's been back now for about almost 2 weeks, and the minutes really have only been, he only played over 31 games so far. He played 26 against the Sixers tonight. He played 22 against the Pelicans on Saturday. So I think people are really just getting kind of fed up with Jeff Teague, and what they're missing is Jeff Teague's finally finding his shot. I don't know if he was injured and tried playing through it for a while, but he was shooting pretty bad there for a while. And the shot's coming back. The assist numbers are great. I mean, he's averaging 8.4 assists in only 27 minutes since he came back from that injury. And I think that you're going to find that Jeff Teague is going to be back up to his old tricks in no time. Now, he probably won't play the crazy minutes that he played last year. He'll probably settle more into that 30, 31 minute a night range. But I think Teague can get you like 14 points a game, probably average somewhere between 7.5, 8 assists, probably 1.2 to 1.5 steals. And that just sounds like something I want to own, and I think a lot of people are jumping ship. I mean, he was even on the waiver wire in one of my 10-team leagues, and I scooped him up. I think he's going to be probably pretty close to a top 50 player in the second half of the season here, and I think some people are just completely out.
Yeah, I personally have kind of given up really paying too much attention to Jeff Teague. I don't have him in too many leagues, but he has been having a pretty abysmal season. And so if you are getting him for legitimately nothing or getting him off the waiver wire, I think it's worth a pickup. It's at least worth a flyer while he kind of like gets his legs back under him and gets into playing shape. He's starting, right? Like he's going to continue to have the full faith of the coaching staff and front office in Minnesota. So, unless Derrick Rose comes back and takes the ball from him, Jeff Teague should start seeing more playing time, more usage on the Timberwolves. Who is last on this list, Tyler? One of my an old favorite. One of my old favorites. That's how I always talk about when I talk about Taurean Prince. One of my old favorites for this buy low segment, Taurean Prince. Like we talked about in the week preview, just getting back from injury on a minutes restriction. But Taurean Prince, someone that was kind of predicted to have themselves a very nice, in fact, perhaps breakout season, still has about 40-some games left to prove that he's got a breakout season in him. So, Tyler, why is he on this list?
So the crazy part is he's actually doing the breakout. It's just he's playing less minutes, so the numbers look relatively the same. He's actually playing a lot better. He's just not playing as many minutes as he played last year. And we talked about this, last year he should have got more than 30 minutes a game. This year he's only playing 28 minutes a game, and he should be playing more. And I think he will play more. So if he's going to play 32 minutes a night, you're talking, 15 to 15.5 points. You're talking 1.2 steals. You're talking, 2.5 to 3 assists. You're talking 4.5 to 5 rebounds. You're talking probably 2.5 3-pointers, maybe a little bit more than that. It sounds like a pretty sexy ad to me. That sounds like pushing for the top 50, probably just outside that top 50. And I think Taurean Prince can be had at a relative discount. No one really pays that much attention to the Hawks. Most people are thinking Taurean Prince is struggling. He's not getting that many minutes, all that stuff. And I think it's a great time to buy.
Yeah, I like taking a flyer on him. Just in general, I think he has a lot of potential. He should be one of the by season's end one of the go-to building blocks in Atlanta. So they should probably figure out whether or not they can use him in that manner. So I would look at him to kind of be one of those players that you start noticing in late February, early March, when a lot of teams are really giving up on the season, or the teams that are definitely making it are kind of sitting guys. And then these teams that are way out of it but have young players start really, really just letting those guys have at it. And Taurean Prince could be a candidate for one of those types of players who just they take off all the reins. They play him 35 minutes. They just let him go to town. And that would be nice. That'd be great because I think he would be a very solid fantasy player if he were playing, starters minutes.
Just let him ball out.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely see some of that coming up as the season progresses. There's going to be a lot of shifts in the rotations, a lot of changes in philosophy with these teams finally accepting their fate for this season. Still, a lot of teams need to figure out who they are in the West, so that might take a little longer. But in the East, we know who.
This is a fun game because this happens every year. Okay, there's a throwback player, meaning someone who hasn't played in the NBA for like a season or two at least, that gets a 10-day contract and is actually bubbles up and is somewhat, I won't say maybe fantasy relevant, but relevant enough that they play like 20, 25, 30 minutes. We saw Ty Lawson last year. We saw Emeka Okafor, right? We saw some crazy ones last year. Any guesses on who that player is this season, Mike?
That's a tough question because I don't know who's still hanging around out there on the free agent list.
I got one. They're usually guys who play in China because that season ends.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you remember, right, that season ends like relatively early, and then like the guys come back over. So I got a couple. You ready for this?
I am ready.
Do you want to take a stab at someone?
Is it Nate Robinson?
No, I think he finally retired. He like tried to play football for a hot second there, but I think he gave up on that.
Yeah. Is it Brandon Jennings? Is he still out there?
No. Well, yeah, he actually is playing in China, I think.
Those are the only guys. I don't know. Nate Robinson's been a while, but I know Brandon Jennings was occasionally relevant there in the like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, now he plays for
Zenit. Pretty young still.
He plays for Zenit St. Petersburg now, so that's not in China.
Oh well, I guess not.
Okay, so here's my picks. Okay, Jason Thompson.
Jason Thompson.
Yes, do you remember him? He was the 12th pick by the Kings in 2008.
Do not have any idea who the hell Jason Thompson is.
He was the lottery pick for the Kings 2008. He actually had a hot second where he was somewhat fantasy relevant. Had a year where he averaged 12.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, almost a block a game. That was back in 2009, 2010. I think he could make an appearance. The other two guys, Jimmer Fredette, he's been wanting to come back to the NBA. I could see someone giving him a shot on a 10-day contract.
Yeah, Jimmer can score. Jimmer can shoot.
Right, shooting lights out. And the other guy is Pierre Jackson, who's averaging 39.8 points a game, leading the Chinese Basketball Association.
Really?
He was with the Sixers for a hot minute. He played for the Pelicans, I think, for a hot minute in the NBA. Yeah, Jimmer Fredette averaging 37.2 points a game in the CBA and 2.9 steals a game. And so those are my kind of three guys I could see bubbling up and getting a 10-day and making the radars of some people.
That's certainly. I think Jimmer Fredette's probably the best one there. I'm doing a little. I never thought you know what? I don't think I'd ever thought I would say this in 2019. I'm doing a little deep dive on Brandon Jennings here. Who can you tell me how many games Brandon Jennings has scored 30 or more points?
Ooh, it's actually probably kind of a lot. How many games total has he played in the NBA?
Okay, well
Can you
now
tell me that?
you're asking a lot of questions now.
He's not that old, is he?
He is only apparently his nickname is the pterodactyl, which I've never heard that.
That sounds like a basketball reference nickname.
It certainly is, and he is I think 29, maybe almost 30.
Okay, so he's had 13.
Not close. 33.
Jesus.
He has had 33 30-point games or more, which has to be like I might do a little extra deep dive on it, but like that has to be probably in a higher person. There probably it can't be like a ton of players. There's probably like quite a few players, especially these days, that have 33 30-point games. But I would say all of those players played their entire career in the NBA. Like he's definitely the worst player that's ever scored 55, I would think. But I also need to check that out.
You really want to know? Which one do you want to know about? The 55-point game?
Yeah, has there been anyone who's the worst player to score 55 points
in a game?
A game.
Okay, greater than or equal to 55. Give Basketball Reference a second.
Gotta let it calculate.
Wow. Okay, hold on. I gotta go again.
There's not a whole lot of guys who nailed 55. There's probably a lot of old guys.
So Basketball Reference will only take you back to 46, 47.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need to go back past 75, really.
Worst guy to score 100 or score more than 55 points. I think he's taking the cake. Joe Fulks in 1949 did it.
I don't know. Maybe he was freaking awesome. Like, I have no idea.
I'll have to check it out.
The best white guy that night.
Almost every other guy sounds really good. Gilbert Arenas is on here.
Hey, Gilbert Arenas is good. He was injured. I guess Brandon Jennings was injury too, but sort of.
So just some guys I've maybe not that well versed on. Purvis Short.
Okay.
Jack Twyman.
Not a person.
Fred Brown.
My apologies to his family.
And those are kind of the four guys I would pick out that are in competition with him.
So without knowing an extensive history of pre-1960s basketball, Brandon Jennings is the worst player to score 55 points, which is actually a pretty cool thing to be.
I'm going to look up some of these other guys, and I'll let you know what I come up with.
I need a 2-page report on my desk by the end of the week, Tyler.
Joe Fulks is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, there you go. That's all I mean, I don't know if I trust the Hall of Fame, but hey, he made the Hall of Fame, so I guess he was good.
Purvis Short had a season where he averaged 28 points a game.
That is good. I mean, Brandon Jennings had a season where he averaged 19. So
Jack Twyman is also in the Hall of Fame, 6-time All-Star.
All right, well, Brandon Jennings, there you go. Sorry.
Fred Brown, though, and Brandon Jennings might be competing for this title because Freddie Brown was a one-time All-Star, and he had like 2 pretty good seasons, but then he had some seasons where he wasn't really that good. He played from the early 70s to the mid-1980s.
Like, nothing depresses me more than basketball before the actual people who could play basketball joined the league.
He was a career-long Sonic, though.
Before they merged with the ABA, nothing bores me more than ancient basketball. I think that's it for tonight, Tyler. Tyler, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything to plug?
No, man. That'll do it for today.
All right, if you say so. That's it from me, guys. If you like the podcast, please rate and review us. You can find me on Twitter at Watch the Boxes. You can find Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. And if you really want to help us out, go check out patreon.com/watchingtheboxes, where you will get access to shows like this ahead of the published podcast that is on the regular feed. Our Patreons get exclusive content, and they have the ability to interact with us and give us feedback for the show. So shout out to our Patreon subscribers, and we'll catch you next time. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, the very best place to waste an entire day's worth of work just not doing anything other than making your fantasy basketball team way, way better and manipulating your way to a championship. That is the best site, #basketball.com, to do that at. Go check them out right now. Or maybe check them out after you listen to this podcast. I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
So, Michael, who would win in a fight between Amon Chumpert and Yusuf Nurkic?
Wow. I did not see this question coming. But I'm gonna go with the guy with the reach, and I also am gonna go with the guy with that Eastern European craziness, and that's Yusuf Nurkic.
I mean, they almost had the throwdown yesterday on Monday. I'm kind of going with Shump, man. He seemed a lot more PO'd than Nurkic.
Yeah, I mean, Nurkic might have been holding his cool better, but if we were in an actual fight, like a street fight, like I don't mess with the Eastern Europeans, man. I don't mess with the Balkans.
I mean, you might not want to mess with a guy whose nickname is the Bosnian Beast.
No, you do not. And also, he's got the reach, man. You always take the guy with the reach.
So I don't know. I just thought it was crazy that some reports said he actually tried to go in the locker room. Other ones said he just waited outside. Regardless, it seemed like it was.
You got to be
tense situation.
Pretty mad to wait outside the locker room, just waiting around,
just stewing in my own juices,
just being real pissed off. You got to be a real kind of lunatic to do that. So that's fair. But Tyler, tonight we are doing our Sell High podcast as we always do, and I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon subscribers who get first and exclusive access to our Buy Low, Sell High, and Waiver Wire podcasts. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers. If you want to be a Patreon subscriber and get early access to these podcasts, go subscribe on patreon.com/watchingtheboxes. And in reality, you're really helping the show out. So, like, you get cool exclusive content, you get to interact with Tyler and I. But the best part is that you're helping the show run, and everything that we get in there goes back to making this show better. So thank you to all our Patreon subscribers that are already out there supporting the show. Tyler, are you ready? Are you ready for selling high? Like, we got a good list of names here. There's a lot of guys who are overachieving. And I think there's a lot to talk about, actually.
Oh, there's always a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Let's roll up our sleeves.
Yeah, there is always a lot to talk about. And the first guy I want to talk about on this list is a guy who is kind of blowing everybody away right now, definitely playing his best basketball of the season. And you could argue that he's playing the best basketball of his career, because in the last week or so, he is a top 10 player. And I'm talking about LaMarcus Aldridge, who had a 56-point game. In our last episode, we were talking about players who have scored 55 points or more, because that is the level set by one Brandon Jennings. And LaMarcus Aldridge joined the ranks with a 56-pointer just a few nights ago. LaMarcus playing out of his mind. Actually, that Spurs team just had a really good stretch there, even though they've gotten 2 losses here in the last 2 games. Is this just simply a case of you're selling a guy at his peak, and this is a high name value type of player? People know who LaMarcus Aldridge is, so like if there's some connotations there of people who don't like LaMarcus Aldridge, it might be a little hard to sell high. But for those who know who he is, this might be the right time to get a first, second round player for him.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to sell Aldridge. I mean, you mentioned it; he's playing great right now. Also, DeMar DeRozan has been struggling a little bit in the last few games, so I I think that kind of balances out, right? And Aldridge takes a few less shots, and DeRozan takes a few more when he's kind of firing on all cylinders. So there's that part of it too. He's also 33 years old. Like he's been relatively healthy for the last 6 seasons, but at the same time, the older guys get, there's a little bit more injury risk for anyone. Just more minutes, more wear and tear on the body. The Spurs are eventually going to rest him a couple games. They've rested him a few. I mean, the most he's played is 75 games in any season with the Spurs. He's played in all 45 of their games so far. So you got to figure he's going to miss a handful of games down the stretch here. So there's that too. And, just Aldridge is great. He does what he does, but I think you can definitely maximize his value right now and sell him high for, just look at his draft day value. I don't think much has changed for Aldridge. So if you can sell him above his draft day value, I definitely do that.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible for him to get any better than he is currently playing right now, shooting almost close to 60% over the last few weeks or so. And just hitting tons of getting to the line a ton, almost hitting all of those free throws. So those are boosting his rankings. And a lot of players out there, a lot of people who play fantasy basketball casually or even somewhat seriously, for some reason, they like to look only at the rankings, whatever the player rater's telling them, whatever the Yahoo rankings are telling them, instead of looking at what the stats that they are actually getting. And I always recommend when you're doing a trade, look at what stats you're getting, look at what stats you're giving up. Does that fit your team style? Does that fit your build? Does it fit your current roto rankings? There's a lot to take in when you're making a trade, instead of just looking, well, I'm trading the 12th place guy and I'm getting the 8th place guy. Cool. That could mean a thousand different things. And so if you're dealing with people who do trade based on rank, this is a good time, because that rank, it could not be higher for LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, he's 24th in Basketball Monsters rankings, which just is insane, and he's not going to hold that. And I mean, there's plenty of guys under him that I could see passing him. And I mean, there's a lot of guys on this list that are super, super high right now that just probably not going to hold. And we're going to talk about a bunch of them here today. And that's mostly why I'm selling them.
Yeah, I am going to give a shout out though to LaMarcus Aldridge, because every time you think he's down and out, he ends up putting in these really, really great stretches of fantasy value. There was that one year in San Antonio where everybody thought it was kind of over for him. And he's back. He played great last year. He's playing great this year. He has proven to be pretty much underrated. I think he always gets drafted. No one's ever being like, man, big jump for LaMarcus this year. That's never happened. So props to LaMarcus Aldridge for still holding it down at the age of 33. Good on him.
Do you want to play a fun game real quick?
Sure.
Name me the top 12 players in 8 category rankings on total value. Go.
On total value, shit. So that eliminates Steph Curry.
Ooh, I don't know, Mike. You might want to rethink that.
In total value, that's how good Steph Curry is. I actually kind of believe it. I'm gonna go with. I know Kevin Durant's played a lot of games.
Number 3.
All right, cool. I'm gonna guess that LaMarcus Aldridge is in this list, since that's why you're asking the question.
No, he was 24th. I just said that.
Oh, what? Oh, well, I was drunk. Let's see. Dame never misses any games.
Number 8.
Not LeBron. Everybody who called out LeBron for gonna be taking a nice long vacation come the beginning of the year looks like he's taking that nice long vacation.
Still 29th though. Give LeBron credit. He was having a good year.
Hey, respect to LeBron for still being good, but he's getting his break in. You gotta get that break in. All right, let's see who else. This is gonna be tough.
Oh, come on! You got to get number 1 and number 2 now. Come on.
Giannis
is number 9.
Towns.
Number 4.
Bradley Beal.
Number 11. That's one I don't know that I would have got.
Rudy Gobert.
No, Rudy Gobert is
I think I'm out on this. I don't know.
number 17. Harden and Davis, obviously 1 and 2.
Okay, well, okay. Harden
Durant and
Davis.
Towns. Okay. Any guesses at number 5? A
Paul
guy
George?
we're always higher on than everyone else, it seems.
Steph Curry.
Paul George is number 5.
Okay.
Nikola Jokic is number 6.
Yeah. Okay. Good for him.
Embiid, Lillard,
Okay.
Giannis. Number 10 is Drew Holiday. 11, Bradley Beal.
Drew Holiday.
And the insaneness of Steph Curry is everyone other than Anthony Davis has played 40 or more games. Steph Curry is 12th, and he's only played 33 times.
Yeah, guys, Steph Curry is good. Remember earlier this season when he was going like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in drafts, in mock drafts, and me and Tyler were sitting here saying, yeah, he's one of the 4 players who could finish number 1 overall. Him, Harden, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant. Those are the only 4 players who could finish number 1 overall this season. And if I'm looking per game, 9 category per game right now, I'm going to go click on that. Kawhi Leonard's actually, hey, good for Kawhi Leonard, is actually number 4, and Kevin Durant is number 5 per game. So Davis, Harden, and Curry, 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, sir, as expected.
Yeah.
The crazy one on this list, I think. Where do you think DeAndre Ayton is ranked in 8 category leagues for the season?
In totals, he's played a lot. I think he's played most of the games, but I haven't really been hearing too much about him. Just like in general, no NBA buzz, no NBA Twitter buzz, like nothing.
He's not really doing anything other than dunking the ball.
Hey, dunks are worth 2 points. I'll take it. He's having a pretty good season. I guess he's probably like top 30.
He is 22nd. And I would have never guessed that. And a lot of it has to do with what you mentioned, right? There's just not much buzz. He's rebounding the ball great. He's getting you a couple assists. He's getting you almost a steal and a block a game, 16 and a half points.
I did cheat a little bit. I knew he played 45 games, so that's why I assumed he was in the top 30. But that is very, very surprising.
Yes, so there's that.
I would never have guessed. Let's talk about some of the other players on this sell high list here. This guy, always injury prone. And I'm always a little worried about this guy, Blake Griffin. He is playing great, over the last, but he's also playing about 38 minutes a game. How long will those knees hold up for Blake Griffin?
Yeah, he's having a career year too. Like he's averaging the most points he's averaged in his career. He's just been great. He's 29 years old. The most games we've seen him play since 2015 is 67. So he's 67, 35, 61, 58 the last 4 years. And then he did have an 80, 2 80s in a row, but then 66 the year before that too. That actually might have been the strike, the year where there was shortened season.
Yeah.
But even still, like, I mean, we've just seen 4 years in a row where he's gotten hurt. He's playing out of his mind. He is literally one of the top players in fantasy this year. And he's number 25 on the season, right below Marcus Aldridge. I would definitely sell as fast as possible on this.
Yeah, knock on wood. I don't want to wish injury on anybody, but I almost feel that Blake Griffin always gets injured when he's playing his best basketball. Like I don't know if I just have selective memory, but like it just feels like remembering all of these seasons where Blake Griffin got hurt, he was always like ramping up into his very best basketball, and then he would get injured. So might be a bad sign. So definitely try to move him.
I got 5 names I'm going to ask you. You can have Blake Griffin or this person. Ready? These players are all ranked below Blake Griffin for the season.
Okay, let me hear it.
Eric Bledsoe.
Yes.
Yes? You mean you want Bledsoe? Or?
I want Bledsoe.
Okay, I wasn't sure what yes meant. Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton.
Julius Randle.
Probably Blake Griffin.
And a lot of that has to do with, I think they're very similar players. And so betting on Blake Griffin to be the superior version is probably good. Okay, I lied. I got two more that I want to ask. Donovan Mitchell.
That's a really tough one because Donovan Mitchell's super struggling. Just started to play well, but like who knows how long that will last. And I mean, I think I'm going to go Blake Griffin. I just think he's a little bit more. He's not more durable, but he's going to give you more. I think for the rest of the season.
Buddy Hield.
Per game.
Buddy Hield.
Blake Griffin.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's kind of like if you think Blake Griffin's going to go out in the next like 2 to 3 weeks, all of those guys would be better than Blake Griffin.
And those guys were all top 50 players for the season. I did not mention anyone who was below the top 50 there. And man, I mean, I'm super worried about Blake staying healthy. I think I would take pretty much all of those guys over Blake Griffin except for Buddy Hield. I would even take the shot on Donovan Mitchell. I just feel better about him staying healthy and playing a little bit better in the second half. And Julius Randle, I mean, I think that you probably have to go Blake Griffin there, just in the sense that they're so similar, and Julius Randle hasn't been the healthiest either. So, I'd take Blake Griffin as the kind of superior version of that player.
I agree. And let's actually talk about Buddy Hield. He is currently on this list for your sell high. So, like, go into why Buddy Hield is playing. He's playing probably some of the best basketball. But I thought Buddy Hield was due for a little bit of a breakout this season.
Yeah, and I mean, Buddy Hield's an older rookie. We don't see that very often, right? Like most people think, like, oh man, it's his third year breakout. He's young. He's this. He's 26 years old already. Like he's not that young.
He's super old.
And so
he's entering his prime, pretty much.
That's what I mean. And here's the thing that worries me about Buddy Hield. Now, we've seen him be a fantastic, basically the whole time he's been in Sacramento, he's been a fantastic three-point shooter, but he's shooting 44.4% on his threes this year, taking 7.3 attempts a game. So that's giving him 3.3 three-pointers a game. That is an insane total. I don't know that he can shoot that good. Like, that's exceptional. That's Steph Curry territory. So there's that. The other thing that really worries me is there's no steals and blocks in this. He's averaging half and 0.3. And we've seen in the past that he's not an exceptional steals guy or blocks guy. He averaged one a game he averaged 0.7 a game per 36 minutes his rookie season and 1.5 per 36 minutes his sophomore season, and now half per 36 minutes. So maybe there's not much steals here. So he's kind of an empty points and threes. I just don't love that. Now, he's the 38th ranked player on the season, but if you think those percentages are going to dip a little bit, which I do, I mean, he shot 44% last year. He's shooting 47% this year. That's going to drop him really far, really fast, because he's basically only a really big positive in two categories. So I would, if I could get a top 50 player for Buddy Hield, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, he lives on that plateau where a lot of the players in that range are kind of interchangeable. And if you do see a drop, whether it be in percentage or steals or something that's significant, you can really fall off the planet. And so that's why, like I said, I always recommend people look at stats instead of ranks. Buddy Hield playing great basketball right now, but if you're worried about him sliding, now's a good time to make a move. See if you can sell him for something better.
Jamal Murray or Buddy Hield?
That's a tough one. That's a great question. I'm gonna go Buddy Hield.
I'm going Murray on that. I think it's close too, but I'm gonna go. I think Murray's gonna step up, and I think Hield's gonna step back. And so, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Of I want to get the player, I think, going in the up instead of in the down, and so there's kind of my reasoning for that. Jason Tatum, Buddy Hield.
Probably Tatum.
Yeah, give me Tatum too. Just a little bit better steals and blocks. Gonna still score a decent amount. And then there's, a lot of these guys, it's just kind of amorphous once we get outside that top 50 range of like, it's just a coin flip at that point of who, is better.
That's true. Speaking of guys who have been playing better, D'Angelo Russell finally kind of hitting his stride here over the last month. He per game is a top 40 player.
For
In
the
this,
season on totals, he is 33rd.
that's
33rd, Mike.
really.
33rd.
I swear he was out more games than just a couple. Maybe I just haven't been paying very good
He has played
attention.
44 games according to Basketball Monster. Now, I did not make Basketball Monster's sheet. He played 48 games total last year, 44 already this season.
So this is, I think, a tough one though, because D'Angelo Russell was always a player. He's only unlike Buddy Hield, who you feel like is very young and barely past his rookie season. D'Angelo Russell been around for a while, already been traded, about to turn 23. So this is someone who should be making a leap. This is the kind of leap people have been predicting about D'Angelo Russell for a while. So why would you sell high in this case if this is the player that D'Angelo Russell is going to be?
The per 36-minute numbers are a little bit worrying on a couple levels, right? He's averaging 22.8 points per 36, which is well above his career average. And if Mark Roberts has taught us anything, Mike, it's that we should trust those career per 36-minute numbers pretty closely, that players don't deviate a lot from their per 36-minute numbers. They just get more minutes, right? So the assists are also at a well above career average number. So that's worrying. And the three-pointers are at a well above career average, not only percentage, but makes. So I'm a little bit worried about that too. So, you kind of throw that all into a pot. You got to figure Russell misses a few extra shots kind of in the second half. The health, I mean, he's been injured each of the last 2 seasons. So that's a little bit worrying. And then, the numbers fade back a little bit. And I think he's just kind of trendy. He's hot, right? Like people are saying, oh, D'Angelo Russell's having a breakout. This is what we've been waiting for, players right below him that are ranked, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, Donovan Mitchell. Give me all those guys over D'Angelo Russell. I'm not really buying this breakout, and I think he probably finishes the year outside the top 50.
Yeah, and let's not forget to mention the fact that Rondé Hollis Jefferson, Alan Crabb, Karis LeVert, all guys who are going to be back from injury at some point in the next month, or perhaps in February with Karis LeVert. All those guys are going to need more touches, more usage, more minutes, and that's going to mean less production for D'Angelo Russell. So even if D'Angelo Russell's having a bit of a breakout, or at least a little bit of a bump, the team that he is going to be playing with isn't gonna be the same team. There's going to be more minutes needed to be given out, and I don't think that completely harms D'Angelo Russell, but the Nets do like to spread those minutes around and not really rely on anybody for more than 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, and that's always the downfall of that team.
Yeah, we always appreciate it when it's has nothing to do with fantasy, where you're like, okay, good, you're giving people rest, you're not running down and ruining their careers like Tom Thibodeau. But when it comes to fantasy, Tom Thibodeau is sadly the best coach.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just true. Let's talk about another guy on this list, Jusuf Nurkic, a guy who would beat the living shit at Iman Shumpert. He is just like, he's been having basically a career season. So what makes you think he's not going to just keep this up? He's basically kept it up for the entire first half of the season. He's been basically the top 30, top 40 player. He's 15 and 10, getting blocks, getting a steal. Like, what makes you think he's going to deviate too much from this really, really strong first half?
Did he learn how to shoot a free throw?
Let me see. No.
I mean, he's up, from his career average 10%. and he's taking a crazy amount, 4.8 attempts. I think that number could fall back a little bit, so that'll bump the points down a hair. I mean, not a ton, but some. The other worrying thing, and he's actually playing the most minutes he's ever played in his career, which is a positive, but the assists are kind of out of nowhere, and we've seen Portland do this in the past, right, that they like to run with the center as kind of a playmaker. You know, they did it with Mason Plumlee when he was there, and they're doing it with Nurk. But I think that those numbers might fall back a little bit to like 2.5. The steal numbers are likely to fall back. He's basically been 0.8 every season of his career, and now all of a sudden it's 1.1.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so he's played 4 full seasons, and he's had 0.8 steals every single year, including last year when he had played 26.4 minutes a game. This year he's playing 27 minutes a game, so a slight increase. Maybe he gets to 0.9, but 1.1 still seems like a lot. So there's that. So, you take a little bit of hit in every category, and the ranking number drops quite a bit. He is the 28th ranked player in totals on the season. If I can sell him... If I can sell him for anywhere near that value, though, I feel pretty strong about doing that if I do think he's going to take a small step back in a lot of categories.
Yeah, like if you don't trust him, then that makes a lot of sense. I think I like that synopsis. What I think I like a little bit better, though, is that you're looking at a player who I just don't think can get any better. He might not get worse, but he's definitely not going to get any better. So if you end up selling him or trading him for a player of equal or a little bit greater value, maybe you throw in a trade chip just to make the deal happen, you're at worst giving up a guy who's going to, kind of just stay where he is. And maybe drop off a little bit when it comes to the free throws, like Tyler was saying. Maybe his steals drop off a little bit too. Like maybe his minutes drop off. But at worst, he is going to be playing exactly what he's doing, how he's been playing for the season. So if you think you can get something better than that, go for it. Because I think, a lot of people who grab Nurkic, either A, desperately needed a center, and so it would be good to maybe get back some extra bigs in that trade, or B, grabbed him as like their third center, and they're just stacked in centers, and you just don't need that many centers on your team. So he would be either a good guy to find whoever is desperate for a center in your league and say, hey, look at this guy. He's playing well. Give me one of your better players because you are struggling and you're not going to make the playoffs without a center, my man. And then maybe you can make a trade and swindle a guy. That's always a good way of doing it.
That's always my favorite.
I agree. Tyler, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything to plug?
No, man.
That's I think that is it for tonight. For our Sell High segment, everybody. If you like what you're listening to, please rate and review us. We really appreciate it. It really helps people find the podcast. And if you are you got a lot of friends who play fantasy basketball, let a friend know. Tell a friend, take their phone, download the podcast, subscribe. We really appreciate you guys spreading this through word of mouth as well. Like that helps a ton. That's the best way to really give recommendations and to help out our podcast is to just let people know it exists. And if you want to support us, go check out patreon.com/watchingtheboxes. You can find me on Twitter @watchtheboxes. You can find Tyler @TylerPWatts. And we will catch you next time.